Dum, dum. Good Monday morning. Amy Jacobson here, sitting in for Dan Proft. This is the one and only Bruce Wolf.
Hi.
Hi. And he came on a very busy day. A lot of things happening over the weekend. A lot of things happening in our world. Over the weekend, you know, the CIA confirming Russia interfered with our election. President Obama ordered a full review of the hacking. He wants a report on his desk before he leaves office. My desk.
He's a lame duck. This guy is doing way too much. He's going to have the Cubs to the White House.
Yeah, he's
That's
trying
supposed
to do
be
that.
for next year, although I can understand it. Chicago, even though Obama was a fan of the team that used to be in Kaminsky Field, as he would call it.
Right. Well, according to the Washington Post's secret CIA agent, they report that Russia worked to get Trump elected. Maybe that's why Trump is considering Tillerson, because Tillerson has a relationship with Putin. Does that make sense to you?
My sources,
What are your sources?
Mike Scott, tell me that John Bolton's going to be the de facto secretary.
No.
Bolton
No way.
actually was.
There's no way in the world.
You know what? Rich Lowry of National Review, and I'd like to adopt and incorporate by reference everything that National Review says, because I'm just regurgitating what they have to say all morning long. But he said that Trump likes the idea of getting Rex Tillerson because then he could fire him, and that would be the biggest thrill for Trump, to be able to fire the head of Exxon.
Well, John Bolton, he has government experience, unlike Rex Tillerson. He is a Washington insider, but he still defends the Iraq War, and some people see that as a problem. But back to this CIA investigation. Donald Trump, of course, says Russian hacking. Now, that's a bunch of gobbledygook. It didn't happen.
I mean, it could be Russia, but it could also be China. It could also be lots of other people. It also could be somebody sitting on their bed that weighs 400 pounds, okay? You don't know who broke in to DNC.
That's not Trump. That's Alec Baldwin doing the China.
Right. No,
That's the cold open of Saturday Night Live. That was not Donald Trump.
Well, this morning they're calling for a bipartisan investigation. John McCain, Schumer, they want to join forces and get to the bottom of this.
Lindsey Graham.
They did hack into this campaign. Were they hacking the Republicans the same way, the Republican National Committee? And if so, why didn't they? There's a whole lot of issues out there. It requires an investigation.
The fact that the CIA and FBI disagree shows the need for a bipartisan investigation that gets to the bottom of this.
You know what?
The investigation should
Senator,
be tough,
may I ask a
strong, and
question?
bipartisan, and should have access to all materials classified.
Speak.
I'm sorry, Senator. He was filibustering.
Yes.
You notice that everybody's concerned about, who's doing this, the Russians do it. Nobody's talking about the fact that what they disclosed was true.
That's true, but according to ABC, but you have to hear me out. According to ABC News, they quoted their CIA source, which they shouldn't be having source, and no one should be getting in contact with the CIA. But they said that both parties were hacked, but they only disclose the information from the DNC.
Well,
they only make the Democrats look bad,
This
and
was
not showing the information from the RNC.
This is to level the playing field.
Yeah, but
because
then
you
Trump-
get NBC, ABC, and CBS, they're all part of the vast left-wing conspiracy. So it leveled the playing field.
But then Trump took it a step further. His transition team, talking about the CIA, saying that's the same agency who said Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. So does Trump have a point? I mean, I think attacking the CIA in order to defend Putin's a little off.
So Trump is funny too. Everybody's crazy because the CIA was wrong about the weapons of mass destruction. It means that they're wrong about everything.
Yeah, that's what he's alleging.
So John,
Not him, but his transition team, which is really Donald Trump.
just to show you how crazy it is. One of the few times that I've ever gotten up and wanted to punch the television set.
Yeah.
The last time was when A.J. Pierzynski slid into Michael Barrett in the Cubs-Sox game, and I went, go A.J., and I didn't realize I was still a Sox fan after all these years. It was dormant. But during the debates, Trump says that Bush lied, people died, whatever. He was taking the left-wing Michael Moore mantra there. Now he's going to have John Bolton, whom you and I and Dan and have talked to like on a weekly basis for the past 5 or 6 years, this hard-line right-wing, America interventionist guy. I don't know what
I think
to believe.
Bolton's out of it. He didn't mention his name during the Fox News Sunday interview.
That's why he's
He
in.
mentioned Corker and he mentioned Mitt Romney. He did not mention General Petraeus and he did not mention John Bolton.
And by the way, isn't Paula Broadwell the appropriately Dickensian named woman? But anyway,
I'm still in trouble for what I said about Petraeus' wife last week. So let's
because
not
she
go
looked
there.
like three 4-star generals, shoulder to shoulder to shoulder to shoulder. Is that why? I mean, can you blame the guy?
Okay,
Is that what you said?
That's not where
Is that
we're
what
heading.
you said? You catty blonde.
not
Not everybody is a slender and a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I am. You are.
You look like Jody Ernst. Oh,
Thank
yeah, I said it.
With the hair.
With the hair. For now, more and just hacking in general. Let's get the latest. And say hello to a return guest, Fred Cate, director of the Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research at Indiana University. Good morning, Fred. How are you?
Good morning. Just fine. Thank you. How are you?
Good. So you're reading all these reports. They were hacked. Some were hacked. The RNC was. The DNC hacked. Where's the truth lie?
Well, I think the answer is there are a few things that we're pretty confident about. I mean, it's clear the Russians did the hacking. I think the big debate right now is the motive. Were they trying to just sow doubt, or were they actually trying to promote one candidate over another? And that's where the recent CIA revelations have really, I think, shaken things up.
Are the CIA and FBI on the same page on this?
Well, it's a little hard to know. I mean, they're not on the same page on most things, so it'd be surprising if they were on the same page on this. But remember, they have very different missions. You know, the FBI prosecutes people. The CIA, deals with foreign intelligence. And so the FBI has to worry about evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. The CIA deals in the spooky world of probabilities. And, what they're saying is that they have what they regard as conclusive evidence that there were Russian hacks of both the DNC and the RNC, and only the DNC emails were made public. And that would suggest that whoever was doing it was trying to help the RNC by keeping their emails secret.
Well, Fred, so we're basically talking about standard of proof here. It's all legal mumbo-jumbo. It's just that the CIA, the CIA likes to take stuff, and they probably believe it's more likely than not or something like that. Whereas the FBI, this is why Comey wouldn't indict Hillary, because it wasn't enough to convict. And I kind of believe him because he went this way and that all through the process. But, I mean, basically, you're just relying on the same stuff that we're relying on, the CIA report. Your expertise as a cybersecurity research professor, how does that play into judging whether this is true or not?
Well, I mean, of course, I don't see the original CIA reports. What we do see is a pattern of forensic activity around attacks that gives a really high degree of confidence. In this case, a much higher degree than we normally have, that it was the Russian government behind the attacks. And we know that there were now two sets of attacks. But what we don't know, what I don't know, and what I suspect the CIA doesn't know, is what they actually got from the Republicans and why that material was not made public.
Fred, this may be on your purview, but, it's radio, and we like to speculate. So here's the thing. Here's the question.
This is conjecture on your part? Yes.
Well, sure, it's all conjecture. We got a lot of time to kill. But John Bolton apparently yesterday said something on the order of, and this could hurt him during I don't know if he need to be confirmed or not, but whatever he's doing with the State Department, he suggested there might have been a false flag operation by the Obama department. Catch this. How come we know that the Russians' fingerprints are all over the stuff when the DNC got hacked, but we don't find the Russians' fingerprints on Hillary's private email server? It leads one to believe that, are they being sloppy in the one case and not in the other, or is this a distraction? Your comments, sir.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to that. I mean, the type of forensics we're using around the Russian attack is an attack, and so it's like there's evidence. You can go in and look at it. You can look at the language of the attack. You can look at where it originated. You can look at where it sent data to. You can look at motives. In the case of the Clinton email server, we don't have any evidence of attack. What we have evidence of is somebody setting up a server in at least violation of good judgment. Some people have thought in violation of the law, but we know exactly what happened and who did it. It's not a question of trying to figure that out, because all that information now I think is pretty clear even before the FBI.
Do you think China has anything to do with this hacking during our election?
Well, I mean, China has a lot to do with a lot of attacks, and I think that's pretty much where everyone's mind first goes. But in this case, the evidence, all of the evidence that's been made public, and certainly the people who are pretty expert on this are just incredibly confident that it's Russia, not China, involved in this attack. Sometimes we see both. You know, you go in and you find more than one country involved in attacks, not because they're cooperating, but because they're competing.
Fred, again, this is beyond your purview as director of the Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research at Indiana University, but go for it. You think we should have a do-over on the election?
No, I don't think anyone will suggest that, and I certainly would not suggest that. I think what we should do, and this is within my purview, is we should start taking cybersecurity seriously.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about it a lot. We feature a lot of stories about hacks, but then we don't do much about it. And I think, you know, one thing this might suggest is that when we think about cybersecurity, we're not just talking about security of data and finances and health and all these other things. We're talking about the security of elections and our democracy.
And Fred, during the 2012 election, during the debates between Obama and Romney, who was the candidate who warned us about intervention by other countries like Russia and China and was laughed at constantly? Yeah. Who was that candidate? Say his name for us, Fred.
Yes, that would be the Honorable Mitt Romney.
Yes, thank you.
Who should be Secretary of State. All right, so Fred, on a lower level, how do people like Bruce and I, those in our listening audience, how could we protect ourselves and our emails and our bank account and everything's online?
Right. Okay, so first of all, remember, you're not worried. I mean, I'm not worried about protecting ourselves from the Russians, partly because they're not likely to target us and partly because there's not much we can do to protect ourselves from that type of sophisticated attack. What we want to do is protect ourselves from just normal criminal activity that happens every day. And unfortunately, the right things to do are all the right things we keep saying and, you know, nobody wants to really pay attention to. Use a strong password. Change that password frequently. Don't share it with your family or your secretary or your friends. You know, the same sort of common sense you would use if you had $50 in your pocket and you were walking down the street of Chicago at night, and you would look to say, am I alone? Is there a light, a street light on this street? These are the same types of things we would say that you need to do in cyberspace as well. We know the single easiest way, and in fact the way that I think it's pretty clear now that the Russians got into both the Democratic and Republican systems is through a phishing email. And so, you know, one thing we're really pushing, because almost all cybercrime originates with a phishing email. You click on the email, you then click on a link inside of it to open a document, see a picture, and suddenly someone's loading malware onto your computer or your phone. You know, we're really pushing just don't click on those links, and
so
you know, frankly, we got to stop sending those links. You know.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Fred Cate, return guest here on AM 560, and the director of the Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research at Indiana University. And Fred joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.